Temecula is a very high fire hazard severity zone. What does that mean? That means the new Zone 0 regulations will apply to many folks living in the area. Hey everyone, it's Chris here with Zone 0 California. Now before we get started, I want to remind you we are giving away a free pedestrian gate. All you need to do to win is subscribe to the channel and then visit zone0california.com, fill out the form and download your free Zone 0 PDF checklist guide. All right, so let's get into it. As you can see here, I'm near Old Town Front Street, the I-15 and Temecula Parkway. Now this represents the very edge, you could call it the southwest edge of Temecula, and everything to the north and the west along the mountain here is a very high fire hazard severity zone. Now, the good news is that many parts of Temecula are not in a very high fire hazard severity zone or any fire severity zone at all. Essentially, if you use the 15 freeway as a guide, going north from here, everything along the 15, as you spread out and get on flatter ground in the valley here, is essentially safe. But if you do live on the hills here on the west side of the Temecula area, and of course if you look at a map, as you go towards the east and get into the mountains and hills over there, you do start to enter the very high fire hazard severity zones. Now I will also mention at this point, going south on the 15, everything, all these mountains, all these canyons, all these small towns, this is all completely within a very high fire hazard severity zone. So what does that mean, right? Well, it has to do a lot with the Zone 0 regulations, or at least that's the aspect we are raising awareness about. These are the new regulations that are going to be issued by the state, and also you'll probably see county level and city level regulations as well. And it has to do with the 0 to 5 feet around any home or structure. And so if your home or structure is inside of the fire hazard severity zone, Zone 0 regulations will apply to you. So what does that look like in practice? Two main things: your landscaping, such as your trees, your shrubs, your bushes, your grass, that will be affected. You may need to actually get rid of a tree or move it. You'll have to at the very least, trim your trees so they do not touch your home. You may have to transition grass to gravel or paver stones or things like that. Now, fences and gates are the other next sort of big item when it comes to Zone 0, right? Because as we all know, an old wood fence or gate can go right up next to your home or your garage, and that becomes an issue, especially if it's an old redwood fence. That fence can act like a fire fuse, and if it catches fire, that fire will lead it all the way up to your house and eventually pose a risk to your house. Now, the Zone 0 regulations are part of a fire hardening measure by the state to, of course, help protect homes in the next large wildfire event. And so part of that hardening system also includes your siding and your roofing, as well as your decks and patios. So now Zone 0 may affect your decks and patios specifically, but siding and roofing may not necessarily be dictated by those new regulations. However, they are part of a complete fire hardening system. So if you are in a very high fire hazard severity zone, please use the CAL FIRE maps, check your exact address, see whether or not you are in one of those zones. These regulations will apply to you. Now, they are scheduled to be published this year. They were delayed twice already. We're in March of 2026. And so far, it doesn't look like they're on the calendar of events for the forestry department, who I believe is tasked with handling these regulations and finalizing them. But we do expect at some point this year those to be finalized, which means beginning in 2027, you will now be essentially forced to comply. So we want to spread the word now. We want people prepared. We want them not scared. And of course, the sooner you harden your home against a wildfire, the more protected you're going to be when that next major fire event comes. So usually what I do with these videos is drive around and show you where the homes and other commercial areas along these fire hazard severity zones are. But for this video, we're just going to leave it there. Of course, if you want to win that gate, all you need to do is subscribe to the channel and visit us at zone0california.com and fill out the form to download your free PDF checklist guide. All right, so Riverside County, Temecula, we're going to leave it here. but we'll be back and we'll do a tour next time. All right, guys? Thanks. Hey, Temecula, it's Chris. I'm back here. Before I actually let you go, I wanted to show you on the map where I am and where these fire hazard severity zones are, just to give you a sense of what's going on here. So here is your fire hazard severity zone map. Okay, so I am at this junction right here where the 15 Temecula Parkway and Old Town Front Street starts to go up to the north there, and you can see it's all red here. So as I zoom out, you'll see that is this part of Temecula here along this mountain ridge is where the fire hazard severity zone is. So you can see there's some development here by these lines on the map, and as you go north you might get more things, and okay, you get to this area more northwest up here towards Murrieta. Again, it's most likely going to follow this mountain line. Now this area over here is not necessarily where it ends. It means this is a different responsibility. So there's local responsibility and state responsibility. What we're looking at is local responsibility in red, and then the lightly shaded pink areas are still fire hazard severity zones. They're just state responsibility areas. So again, a lot of this is going to align with the topography. And this is the 15 freeway that goes down here. And like I said, once you get to the east side of Temecula and in those places over there, you start to also get back into fire hazard severity zones. But again, south, as the 15 goes south here through all of these mountains, right, you've got some Indian reservations here, but this is all fire hazard severity zones in these mountains. And of course, being shaded out means it's a state responsibility area. So, you know, it's pretty obvious when you drive through here or drive through that part of the 15 that there are some communities, but it's not major. But all of the communities along the 15 here, from Temecula down to Escondido, are in a very high fire hazard severity zone. So we're going to head south. We're going to head towards Escondido, and we're going to continue making videos down there. Thank you, guys. Be safe, Temecula.